Nobody woke up in the morning and said, I no longer believe the future will be better. No, it didn't happen like that. It happened quietly. It happened while people kept going to work. It happened while people kept paying bills, kept scrolling, kept telling everybody, I'm good. But see, underneath all of that, something changed. There used to be this silent belief in the background. Not a belief people had to argue for, not a motivational quote or some sort of like fantasy, just a background assumption that life was moving forward. You know? You grew up. You worked. You built. You saved. You bought something. You raised a family. And somehow tomorrow was supposed to make sense. That was the wallpaper behind everything. But now that wallpaper is gone, people still make plans. They still make plans, but a lot of those plans feel hollow for some reason. They talk about retirement while wondering if they'll ever own anything. They talk about careers while watching entire industries get replaced. They talk about the future like it exists, but they don't feel it anymore. And when a person stops feeling the future, they don't immediately fall apart. They just get quieter. They stop reaching as far. They stop believing effort automatically becomes reward. They stop dreaming out loud because dreaming feels embarrassing in a world that keeps moving the finish line. And that's the part that no one wants to say. A lot of people are not lazy. Folks are just exhausted from trying to build a life on ground that keeps shifting. The Hermit sees this clearly. The problem is not that people lost discipline. The problem is that many people lost the horizon. And when the horizon disappears, survival starts pretending to be wisdom. There was a time when life felt more solid, not easy, not perfect, but solid. A job could become a career. A career could become a house. A house could become a family foundation. A family foundation could become a story. There was a line. You could follow it. But now everything feels temporary. The jobs feel temporary. Housing, temporary. Relationships, temporary. Identities, temporary. Attention, stability, temporary. The world sort of became liquid. And here's the truth. You cannot build a house on liquid. You cannot plant roots in a system that keeps dissolving the ground underneath you. So people adapt. They become flexible, available. They become always reachable, always improving, always adjusting, always preparing for the next disruption. But flexibility has a cost. And at some point, being adaptable starts to feel like having no shape. And that's what modern life does to people. It convinces them that if they're tired, they're falling. But maybe not. Maybe they're not falling. Maybe they're trying to remain human inside a system that never lets anything settle. Every few months, there's a new emergency, a new technology, a new price increase, a new crisis, a new reason to worry about something, a new reason to reinvent yourself. And when nothing stays long enough to become meaningful, people lose the feeling that their effort is accumulating. They're working, but they don't feel like they're building. They're moving, but they don't feel like they're arriving. They're improving, but they don't feel whole. That's why the Hermit withdraws. Not because he hates the world, but because he understands something most people are too distracted to see. If the world becomes liquid, you must become a stone. See, most people are not living. People are performing stability. They wake up tired. They answer messages. They smile when they don't mean it. They say, I'm fine, because saying the truth will make the room uncomfortable. That is the false self. The version of you built to survive the environment, the version that knows how to function, the version that knows how to respond, to appear okay, how to keep the mask steady, while the real self is quietly running out of air. And modern society rewards that mask. It rewards the person who never cracks, who never complains, who never admits uncertainty, never says, I don't know where this is going. So everybody performs. Everybody acts like they have a plan. Everybody posts little proof of life updates. Everybody pretends the future is still normal, but underneath, a lot of people are carrying a silent confession. I don't know if any of this actually is leading somewhere. That confession is not weakness. That's honesty. trying to break through the performance. See, the hermit understands that the false self can help you survive, but the false self can't help you live. Because the mask can help get you through the day, but it cannot give your life meaning. And this is where people get trapped. They keep improving the mask. Better image, better routine, better branding, better body, better productivity, better persona. But the real self is not asking for another upgrade. The real self is asking for silence, for space, for a place where it does not have to perform being okay. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can do, and sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is not, watch me succeed. Sometimes it's, I'm done pretending this noise is life. Period. People think they're resting when they scroll. They're not. They're sedating themselves. There's a huge difference. Real rest brings you back to yourself. The scroll pulls you further away. You feel overwhelmed, so you pick up your phone. You see another crisis, another argument. You see another collapse, another person performing a perfect life, another headline telling you the world is burning, and now you feel worse. So what do? You keep scrolling. Not because you're lazy, but because your nervous system is looking for a way out. But the door it keeps choosing is also the trap. That's the modern loop. You scroll to escape anxiety. The scroll feeds the anxiety. When you scroll more to numb the anxiety, the scroll created. And after a while, everything starts to feel unreal. There's just war, there's money, there's housing, there's relationships, there's politics, there's celebrity drama, personal failure, global crisis. All of it gets flattened into the same glowing feed. Everything becomes urgent, so nothing feels sacred. Everything becomes information, so nothing becomes wisdom. Everything demands attention, so your attention loses the ability to love anything deeply. And once your attention is broken, your future disappears faster. Because the future requires devotion. It requires the ability to stay with something long enough for it to become real, whether it be a craft, a person, a place, a discipline, a path. But the feed, that feed trains you to abandon everything after 3 seconds. The hermit knows this. Your attention is your life force. Where it goes, your life goes. So what do you do when the big future no longer feels believable? You shrink the horizon. Not because you gave up, but because you're taking your power back from fantasy. Stop waiting for the world to become stable before you decide to be alive. Stop waiting for a perfect economy, a perfect plan, a perfect leader, a perfect sign, a perfect 10-year vision. Most people are frozen because they're staring too far away. They're trying to emotionally invest in a future they cannot feel. So why don't you bring it closer? What can you do today? What can you clean? What can you build? Who can you call? What skill can you sharpen? What room can you put in order? What conversation can you have without performing? What habit can you protect for the next, let's say, 7 days? That's where meaning comes back. Not in some grand promise, but in contact. Real contact with your body, with your work, with your home, with your people, with your craft, with the present moment that everybody keeps abandoning. The future may not return as some glowing promise, but power does not require a glowing promise. Power requires presence. And that's the hermit move. You stop begging the world to prove the future is safe. You stop waiting for society to hand you hope. You stop outsourcing your inner ground to unstable systems. And you return to what is directly in front of you. One room, one task, one discipline, one honest conversation, one quiet decision. The future is no longer something you blindly believe in. It's something you build close to the ground, brick by brick, day by day, in silence, while everybody else waits for permission to hope again. And maybe that's the real lesson. The future didn't disappear because people became weak. No. It disappeared because the world became unstable, loud, performative, and exhausting. But the answer is not to collapse. The answer is to withdraw your attention from the noise and place it back into reality. Your hands, your home, your discipline, your people, your silence. Because the world may not give you a future you can believe in, but you can still become the kind of person who builds one anyway. That's the hermit path. Not loud, not desperate, not performative, just grounded, just present, and impossible to move.